So here's a quick video on how I built the bed. Basically the whole frame to start off with is anchored into the chassis of the car. Basically this aluminum profile here underneath is drilled up through the bottom, and then you have screws that hold everything on. Then the frame is then built up off of that. I had to modify it a little bit on the sides here so that I could get all the way in the corner. As well on this side, you can kind of see down there in the bottom where I had to kind of cut that hole in order to fit everything. But I wanted to be able to maximize the space as well as possible, so I had to cut that. But the idea behind the whole frame is I didn't want to mess with anything of the original, so I didn't want seat belts to get in the way or anything like that. So I made it to where it basically comes to the edge to where the seat belt can hang freely and doesn't come in contact with the frame here, as well as the seat. When the seat is leaned all the way back, meaning the second row here, it does not make contact with the first part of the frame itself. When the main bed part is not mounted, it can also slide back and sit on top of the frame here, and basically it will come to the edge here and you can close the top without making contact. I wanted to maximize and get it as long as possible because I'm around 181 centimeters, and I wanted to be able to basically lay down without having to touch my feet on the glass or touching my head in the front. And I can lay down long ways, no problem, and it works out pretty well. For the material that's used here, it's just like a 12 millimeter board. I don't really know what it's called in English, but it's really has kind of a texture on the top too, and that keeps the mattresses from moving or sliding around or making noise, which is also pretty nice. And basically the boards just sit, they just lay down into the subframe, and then they just rest on those bolts that you can see. And we sleep 2 people in here, no problem. I never had a issue with it bowing or the feeling that maybe part of it would fall or something. So yeah, that's part of the bed frame. You look up underneath here, it's supported in the middle, but in the back there it's only supported by the 2 legs. It makes it pretty easy and quick to set up. It's basically just 3 bolts and screw them in, and it's good to go. On the side here, I did make some feet that you can adjust the height on as well as the angle, and you can get everything really flat. Once you have it set up, you know, obviously then it'll always be flat as long as your part is flat. And yeah, I made everything out of the lightest aluminum profile that there is, because we're not going to have a whole lot of weight on the platform itself. And if I measured out everything, that's including hardware, really everything that you see here, even with the pullouts, it came in right at 100 kilos with the board. So you're talking 225 pounds extra, which is important to consider if you know, you have to check the car and see how much it's weighted for and stuff like that. So 100 kilos extra, and you get a lot more functionality out of the whole thing.